Deep in the remote mountains of the Himalayas, the sublime chants of the Buddhist monks merge with the infinity of time and space. These are the followers of the wise, the compassionate one, the Buddha. And this is the story of Gautam Siddhartha, the prince who became a prophet. In 566 BC, there was a king, Shuddhodana, who ruled the Sakyas, a kingdom in modern-day Nepal. One night, his queen Mahamaya Devi had a wondrous dream. She dreamt that a magnificent white elephant, with a lotus in his trunk, entered her womb. The king called the royal astrologers and asked them to interpret the queen's dream. They all said that an illustrious son would be born to her, one who would be either a great sage or a great king who would conquer the world. The queen was on the way to her father's home when her son was born, here in Lumbini. Lumbini today is one of the most important sites for the Buddhists. There is a temple dedicated to Mahamaya Devi that marks the site of the birth. Legend has it that after a bath in a nearby pond, holding a branch of a sal tree, the queen gave birth. The newborn child miraculously stood up and, taking 7 steps, proclaimed to the world that this was his last birth in this world of illusion. The Mahabodhi temple at Bodh Gaya stands in serene dignity. The silence is broken only by the rhythmic chanting of the monks. Each stone here is witness to the divine essence of the Buddha, and his grace and benediction are tangible everywhere. The temple stands at the spot where Gautam Siddhartha, prince of the Sakyas, became Sakyamuni, the Buddha, the enlightened one. It was under this peepal tree that he sat in steadfast meditation. Each branch, each leaf is sacred for having once provided shade and shelter to the Lord. This tree is believed to be the 5th generation of the original Bodhi tree. The sapling came from Sri Lanka, where it was taken from the tree planted there in the 3rd century BC by Emperor Ashoka's son, Mahendra. When Siddhartha was born, the sage Asita prophesied that if the child saw misery and suffering, he would renounce the world. King Shuddhodana never forgot the prophecy. He surrounded his son with all that was beautiful and luxurious. When he was 19, Siddhartha was married to the beautiful Yashodhara, and the king believed he had given everything his son could desire. But one night, Siddhartha went out in his chariot into the world he had never seen. He saw an old man, a diseased man, and a corpse. Devastated, he cried out, "Is this the happy earth they brought me forth to see?" And then Siddhartha saw the face of a passing monk, calm and serene. He had found his own destiny. At the age of 29, Siddhartha renounced the world. He left the palace, his sleeping wife and young son Rahul. He took on the robes of a monk and became a wandering mendicant. Siddhartha was tireless in his search for the truth. He wandered here in the region of Uruvela, yearning for release from the endless cycles of birth and rebirth. Siddhartha followed many masters, but the truth remained elusive. He starved himself, eating nothing or but a single grain of rice. He was weak and emaciated, but no nearer the truth. It was then that Sujata, a village maiden, offered him a bowl of kheer or rice pudding. Siddhartha's hunger was that of the soul, but he accepted the kheer. Even today, in a daily ritual, kheer is offered at the Mahabodhi temple. It symbolizes the master's belief in the middle path, which shuns the extremes of indulgence and starvation. Soon after eating the kheer, Siddhartha selected a spot on the bank of the river Niranjana and settled down under the peepal tree. Upon this seat, though my body dry up and my skin and bones and flesh be dissolved, without having reached enlightenment, no matter how long and difficult to reach, I shall not stir from the seat. The evil spirit Mara and his three daughters, desire, pleasure, and passion, tempted him, but in vain. For 49 days and nights, Siddhartha sat under the tree. He saw his past, the present, and in brilliant illumination, the future and the road to salvation. Siddhartha had now achieved Nirvana. He was now the Buddha, the enlightened one. The temple at Bodh Gaya was first built by the Emperor Ashoka in the year 300 BC. Within the temple complex are 7 sacred spots that mark the 7 weeks that the Buddha spent here. Weeks of joy, gratitude, meditation, and contemplation. Tourists and pilgrims tread carefully, for this is hallowed ground. Every nook and corner is evocative of the gentle presence of the Master. Today, the Mahabodhi temple draws visitors from around the world. If earlier the Buddha's followers were chiefly from Asia and South Asia, today they also come from Europe and North America. His doctrine outlines a way of life that eliminates suffering by individual effort. And its simplicity and directness has attracted growing numbers of adherents. From Bodh Gaya, the Buddha walked to the ancient city of Varanasi on the banks of the river Ganga. There, on the outskirts of the city, in the deer park at Sarnath, he delivered his first sermon. May I become the source of unlimited light, freeing and radiating the treasures of my wisdom and virtue, enlightening all lands. At Sarnath, the Buddha met the 5 ascetics who had earlier deserted him. Now, as he preached to them, they became his first disciples. The Buddha spoke of the 4 noble truths. The world is full of suffering. Desire and attachment are the root cause of all suffering. Suffering can cease if desire ceases. To extinguish desire, follow the eightfold path. This first sermon is called Dharma Chakra Pravartan, or setting in motion the first wheel of Dharma. It was here in Sarnath that the Buddha also founded the Sangha with his 5 disciples. The most impressive stupa in Sarnath is the Dhamek Stupa. It is believed to have been built by the Emperor Ashoka to mark the spot of the Buddha's first sermon. Soon after the sermon at Sarnath, the message of the Buddha spread rapidly. His teachings reached out to all, cutting across caste and creed. each man could become the master of his destiny and attain salvation. Buddha often visited Rajgir, the capital of Magad. Bimbisar, the ruler of Magad, and later his son Ajatashatru, became his earliest disciples. In and around Rajgir, there are a number of caves where the Buddha lived and preached. Also in Rajgir is Gridhakut, or Vulture Peak. It was here that he set in motion the second wheel of the Dharma. As the word of the Buddha spread, thousands were converted to Buddhism, from simple villagers to the great King Ashoka, who built stupas and pillars across the length and breadth of India. They marked the major events in the life of the Buddha. At Lumbini, the Ashokan pillar marks the place where the Buddha was born. At Kapilvastu, the capital of the Sakyas, the young Prince Siddhartha spent his youth. The spectacular stupa at Sanchi is famous for both its architecture and its intricate carvings. It is among the finest examples of Buddhist art. Sravasti is famous as the place where he performed what is possibly the only miracle of his life. He is believed to have created 1,000 images of himself in the air. Kaushambi, near Allahabad, was often visited by the Buddha, and many vihars came up in his honor. At Vaishali, the Buddha first accepted women into the Sangha. His foster mother, Mahaprajapati, and 500 women became the first bhikkhunis or nuns. It was also at Vaishali that the Buddha delivered his last sermon. At the Myanmar monastery in Bodh Gaya, an initiation ceremony is in progress. A devotee is going through the rituals that will make him a temporary monk. This can last from 7 days to 6 months. During the ceremony, all worldly attachments are renounced, and in a symbolic gesture, the devotee gives up his ordinary clothes for the robes of a monk. The Buddha said, "Come, monk," and they gave up home and family to follow him. The lifestyle of the Buddhist monk today has changed little over 2,500 years. Even today, bhikshus set out every day, accepting whatever is given in alms. This is the village of Senani, where once Sujata lived, where even today the spirit of the Buddha is as vital and enduring. A monk's life revolves around study and meditation. Solitude and contemplation are his companions, and to fully imbibe the essence of the Master's teachings, his ultimate goal. There were many centers or vihars where monks lived and studied, but the most famous of them all is Nalanda. The university was established in the 5th century AD by the Emperor Kumargupta. It soon became the pride and glory of India, and scholars from all over the world came to study here. Nalanda became the nucleus from where Buddhism spread to distant parts of India and other countries. In Ladakh, the essentials of Buddhist thought and philosophy remained, but external manifestations of worship saw some changes. The northern part of India and the countries north of it practice the Mahayana sect of Buddhism. But here in Ladakh, there is a strong tantric influence, which later came to be known as Vajrayana Buddhism. There are many beautiful and secluded monasteries in Ladakh where time has stood still. The Spituk monastery in Leh has some exquisite images of the goddess Tara, the female personification of the wisdom of the Buddha. The monastery at She, the ancient capital of the Ladakhi rulers, is evidence of the abiding faith of the people of the region. Although the capital shifted to Leh many years ago, the monastery is still in use. Hemis is perhaps the most famous of the monasteries in Ladakh, and the summer festival here attracts visitors in their thousands. Hemis is dedicated to Guru Padmasambhav, a great teacher who played a key role in spreading Buddhism in the Himalayan region. Rumtek is an important monastery in the eastern state of Sikkim. It is the headquarters of the Kagyu or Black Hat sect. The monks came from Tibet at the invitation of the ruler of Sikkim, the Chogyal. The new monastery was built in the style of the original Kagyu monastery in Tibet. Rumtek is a rich repository of statues, tankas and scriptures, and is a major center for Buddhist studies. In Rumtek, the monks practice many rituals that reflect the mystic tantric aspects of Buddhism. The monastery is lavishly decorated with elaborate frescoes that depict numerous deities from the Buddhist pantheon. In the small Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, Buddhism is the state religion. It was brought here by the Guru Padmasambhav. Here at Paro in Bhutan, the Sechu dance festival is held once a year. These are elaborate masked dances dedicated to Guru Padmasambhav, or Guru Rinpoche as he is also known. The dances are performed by monks as well as lay people, and they depict special events in the life of Guru Padmasambhav. They also highlight the teachings of the Buddha, encouraging the people to follow them. Buddhism permeates the daily life of people everywhere in Bhutan. Its influence is seen in arts, crafts, architecture, and governance. Each family offers one son to the order, for this brings merit and approbation to the whole family. These young monks are learning to play the flute. There are numerous musical instruments that they must learn to master, for these are integral to the many rituals that are a part of daily worship. Thousands of prayer flags flutter in the wind here at Dochula Pass at a height of 10,000 feet. Prayer flags are believed to invoke blessings with every movement of the breeze. They are put up by the people in hope, in gratitude, or when seeking protection from evil spirits. The flags come in 5 colors: blue, green, red, yellow and white, colors associated with the Buddha. These also form the colors of the Buddhist flag. In the capital city of Thimphu is the Zilukhe Monastery. Here a group of nuns go through their daily routine of prayer and study. During his lifetime, the Buddha's acceptance of women into the Sangha was a landmark. His attitude reflected tolerance, compassion, and change. The Buddha's message also spread to the neighboring country of Nepal. Here too, Vajrayana Buddhism is practiced by the people. Although Hinduism is the state religion, the influence of Buddhism is no less prevalent. It is believed that the Buddha visited Nepal with his disciple Anand and stayed for some time in the city of Patan. Today, Kathmandu, the capital city, is an international tourist destination. Its markets are flooded with gift items and Buddhist souvenirs. For many visitors, the Buddhist temples and stupas are a major attraction. The Buddhist temple of Swayambhunath is the most visible and well-known symbol of Nepal. The benign and watchful eyes of the Buddha gaze across the valley in each direction. The shrine is revered by Hindus and Buddhists, and the rituals are a quaint amalgam of both religions. The Dorji, or thunderbolt, is the symbol of Buddhist power. The Dorji and the bell together symbolize male force and female wisdom. The Golden Temple in Patan is a Buddhist shrine that has been built in the pagoda style. It has the image of Buddha in the Avalokiteshvar avatar. In the heart of Kathmandu is the magnificent Bodhnath Stupa, perhaps the largest stupa in the world. It is a religious center for Nepal's Buddhist population, and there are many thriving monasteries around it. By evening, the tourists depart, and Bodhnath once again becomes a quiet refuge for the pilgrim and the devotee. Buddhism soon spread to Sri Lanka, Thailand and Myanmar, where the Theravada school is dominant. Towering golden spires give the stupas in these countries a unique architectural splendor. Further to the north, Korea, China and Japan embraced Buddhism. In this temple, the prayers and rituals are distinctively Japanese, but the unifying element of Buddhism is ever present. Buddhism has always been an important bond between Japan and India. The Japanese sage Fuji Guruji built Shanti stupas around the world and in India as well. These temples of peace in Leh, Vaishali and Rajgir are a splendid tribute to the many bridges that Buddhism has built. Pilgrims from around the world come to pray in this shrine at Rajgir. The land where once the Buddha walked is today sanctified by the faith of his followers. Many images, many temples and monasteries from different countries all come together to form a mosaic of beauty and harmony here in Bodh Gaya. It is a microcosm of that perfect world where conflict and discord are momentarily forgotten. A place where Buddha's philosophy of truth and non-violence is the only reality. After his last sermon in Vaishali, the Buddha reached Kushinagar. Here at the age of 80, on the auspicious full moon of Vaisak, on the same day that he was born and achieved enlightenment, the Buddha entered Mahaparinirvan. In death, as in life, he was divine, calm and tranquil. He was now one with infinity, a symbol of radiant light, eternal bliss and endless life. 2,500 years later, the teachings of the Buddha continue to live in the hearts of believers everywhere. His gentle philosophy gave the world the shining light of truth and wisdom, and a way of life that is embodied in the immortal words, I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha.
Gacchami.